Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time for our newest show here on OC Talk Radio, This Week with Wendy. The only show where you'll find some real talk about the SoCal estate of mind. With your host, Wendy Ross, who after decades of working at real estate brokerages in Silicon Valley and here in the OC, decided it was time to create a different real estate business model. And so she did. That's when Veracity Real Estate entered the market. Everyone said the time was right for renewed commitment to bespoke client advocacy at all price levels. Seldom available within high-cost luxury markets like here in Southern California. And that's what she built. A company of data-driven real estate investment advisors who are truth seekers and truth tellers. So Wendy, what kind of truth are you going to share with us today here?
Good morning, Paul. You know me, I'm bringing the data, bringing the numbers.
Bringing it real.
bringing the real estate of mind. And you can count on me for market analysis you won't find anywhere else. And one of the ways that I can bring you market analysis you won't find anywhere else is guests like we have today. We are a bunch of people who do deep analysis, and we work with experts, and we study from the best. And so today we have Antoinette Balta from Veterans Legal Institute and Nick Saifan from Vendaval Corporation and IEGS Corporation. So before we dive into our conversation with these brilliant minds, let's do a quick framing of last week's market. And again, I know you all know, but listeners may not. I only talk about what's going on in Orange County. If you want information about other Southern California regions, feel free to reach out to me independently and we'll talk about that. So this past week, we had 85 homes preparing to come onto the market. 355 homes actually did come onto the market. 658 went into escrow last week, and 416 sold. To give you some context, that's about half what it should be. During peak months in Orange County real estate, we should see something in the neighborhood of 8,000 to 9,000 homes on the market in any given month, and between 4,500 to 6,500 of them sell any given month. We've got half the inventory, and subsequently we have just a little bit more than half normal sales. So we're gobbling up still a fair amount, considering we have nothing really to choose from. Where that put us month to date is we have 3,036 homes that came onto the market. 2,318 sold, and they sold in an average of 8 days on the market. So the heat is on. Nothing is getting better. It's just more the same intense pressure. And of course, it drove median price up yet again. So far, month to date in November, which is effectively over, our median price was $915,000, and that's versus $910,000 last month. So it's just gruesome. Everyone, again, we talked about this last month with my buddy Rick Sharga, who is the VP of Realty Track, who knows everything about everything foreclosure related. Everyone's asking, so what's going on with the distressed inventory? It's not coming. It's absolutely not coming. Month to date, we had 109 listings. That's it. We wanted to have 8,000 listings overall. So if we got 109 of them that were in some form of distress, that's like not even a drop of a drop. We had 89 of them go into escrow and 47 of them sold. So people, if you're waiting for a distress sale to hit the market, stop it. That's stupid. Price is going to keep going up. Interest rates are going to continue to go up, and you're going to pay more, and I'm just going to make more money later. So I would advise you to hurry on up and get your home purchased. So more importantly, every week I'm asking notable names to join me so we can provide you with a behind-the-scenes analysis of what's going on in SoCal real estate. And as you probably know by now, I look at things a little bit differently, and so do my guests. And today we're sharing what the industry knows, and sometimes what the industry doesn't want you, the consumer, to know, but I do, because I know that your home can be your greatest investment if you know how the game is played. That brings me back to today's guests, Antoinette Balta and Nick Saifan, to discuss veteran housing and veterans issues in Southern California. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We couldn't get greater experts in this area. So here's a little background on them. Antoinette Balta is the executive director and co-founder of Veterans Legal Institute. She's a former Equal Justice Works AmeriCorps Legal Fellow, a 2018 Presidential Leadership Scholar, and she spent 6 years in the California State Guard. Nick Saifan is the founder and chairman of Vendaval Corporation and spent 24 years in the military, both in the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Army. He retired from the Army in 2008 at a rank of captain after serving the country with distinction. He served in various conflicts, such as those in and around Iraq, and he's been recognized for his service to the country. And I can't say this enough. Thank you both for your service.
Thank you very much.
Who would know? Such beautiful people and such badasses. All right. So let's launch into our conversation with you, brilliant minds. And ladies first. So, Antoinette, please tell us, what is Veterans Legal Institute and what sort of law do you practice?
Well, thank you, Wendy, for having me today. And thank you for bringing housing to veterans and to the civilians out there and bringing this information to us. Veterans Legal Institute is a nonprofit law firm. We practice public interest law. Our services are free. No veteran ever receives a bill. And the reason we do that is because we really want our low income and homeless veterans and their families to be able to access housing, just like their civilian counterparts. We want to remove any barriers to health care or employment or education to really empower them into that self-sufficiency.
It's a little bit shameful. It's a lot shameful, actually, that we have to concern ourselves with housing insecurity among the men and women who have literally put their lives on the line for us. I can't impress upon you enough how important your work is, and I think you know that you're near and dear to my heart. So as bad as it has always been in terms of getting the veterans to reintegrate into civilian life, how has the pandemic affected them, and how is that affecting you at VLI?
Well, everybody's really been affected by this pandemic differently, and mental health is so unique amongst people that some people really struggle and some are really thriving. What we see with veterans that are already in a vulnerable state, the added isolation and alienation, the less income, the mental health issues that nobody wants to talk about, those have really been dramatic, and veteran suicide is on the rise. So a lot of people talk about the 22 a day of veterans that unfortunately take their own lives.
A day?
A day in this nation, which is more than in combat, more overseas that die in war. It's really a war on U.S. soil that nobody's talking about. And, I don't believe those numbers even take into account suicide by overdose, accidental overdose, and other ways. So the pandemic has been really unfortunate, and that's why I think now more than ever it's really time to walk hand in hand and advocate zealously in any capacity for anyone who's struggling.
And it sounds to me too, as awful obviously as the statistic is, if someone is a service person who takes their life, they leave people behind, and these are also people that you're there to advocate for and help, correct?
Absolutely. And nobody really talks about how the family serves alongside the service member.
Absolutely.
And they really are invisible. So it is time to recognize them and acknowledge them and really help them out. It's not easy moving around with each new deployment or new station, and so these families that really give up their careers and they have to switch schools, the children, they really are the unspoken of heroes of our nation.
They really are. And this is a conversation I get to have sometimes with my mom and pop, landlords and things. And really, we encourage them, take a look at these people who are service members, and they may be a transient tenant for you, but they're an important tenant for you. And don't dismiss them because you're thinking of your greater good. Let's think about the greater good for just a minute. So can you give us real life client examples of what's going on with your clients today?
Absolutely. I mean, we do at Veterans Legal Institute a huge array of civil legal services. So it could be helping with complex veteran benefit appeals if the service member, is a survivor of military sexual trauma and as a result has post-traumatic stress. And they apply to the VA and they say, hey, I have this ailment or illness related to my injury from the military. And the VA says, well, we don't see it. It's not tangible. You don't have proof. No one was there. That can really create a conflict within that veteran. It can cause issues with lack of validation. They can feel betrayed on top of the stressor, the trauma that they've already experienced. So we go in and we fight for them. We fight for their benefits, whether it's for, post-traumatic stress or their traumatic brain injury or a broken, shoulder. We'll do that. We provide services for upgrades of their discharge if they are a survivor of military sexual trauma and they were wrongly separated from the military for either speaking out or acting out. Yeah, and that's common both amongst men and women. Or for other issues, whether it's discrimination based on age or race or religion, gender. And then there's always, estate planning for the older adult and terminally ill veterans and consumer law issues and landlord tenant. How do we advocate for our veterans to stay housed? How do we work hand in hand with landlords and collaborate and cooperate with other resources and programs out there to make sure our veterans and their families stay housing secure?
Yes. I don't think societally we're talking about that enough. Housing insecurity is a very real issue. And it's shocking that as wealthy as we are here in Orange County overall, we have this enormous issue. And I'm delighted that you guys are both here so we can talk about it and shed more light on it, because we can, if not completely fix it, we can start down the road towards getting the remedy for it for all of our people.
Absolutely. And Wendy, you know more than other people that when somebody is about to become homeless, it's much easier to prevent that and less expensive than once they become homeless and they're on the street. So I did want to give you an example that we did have a veteran and her family. She lost her job during the pandemic because of the pandemic. She wasn't able to access resources quickly enough. Because she has a lot of pride, she never filed for her benefits because she said, I'll get through it. Other people need it more, which is common amongst veterans to be proud.
I'll soldier through kind of thing.
Exactly. So she lost her job, and we were able to work with another organization, and thank God the landlord was amicable. We were able to get up to 6 months worth of back rent from this organization to get this veteran and her family stabilized. Meanwhile, she was able to get employed, and we connected her to her benefits so that she's able to access the health care that she needs, especially the mental health care, as well as be compensated for the lifetime of her injury. So, her kids are still in the same home. They're still going to be in the same school district. They're still stable. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to lose out on their security deposit or have to come up with storage fees or first and last month's rent again. They're housed, and that's the biggest gift that we could have given them. And so it's really important for people in the real estate market to kind of understand these issues, especially when considering how they want to conduct their philanthropy.
Oh, yes. Well, and that's a great segue, because I wanted to ask you, how can regular people like me get involved?
Well, I mean, you've been involved. You're incredible, and you're the prime example of how people can get involved. How do you want to volunteer? You've got your time, you've got your talent, you've got your treasure. In your case, you just spent 6,000 hours along with Kara and Gina from Veracity and a few others, helping us with our silent auction for our event. And, our event raised over $200,000, and that's
fantastic.
It's incredible because, that funds 3 attorneys. Each attorney can help up to 200 veterans a year. So it's super impactful. People can obviously donate funds. Today is Giving Tuesday. I know this might air a few days later, but it's Giving Tuesday every Tuesday.
We're live streaming right now.
Oh,
so
are we?
You go, girl.
Hey, guys. Veterans Legal Institute, check us out on social media. We're on the gram. Other ways are you can serve on the board. If you have a certain skill set or talent, you can donate that. We've got lots of families in need over the holiday season. So as a side gig at Veterans Legal Institute, we pass along their names and their wish list. And it's not just the children. We have a lot of single veterans that have, no holiday cheer. And so, there's a million ways you can give back. So the question is more to the listener is, how do you guys want to pay it forward?
That's awesome. And just so everyone knows, when this does get posted on the podcast channel, we're going to have all of Antoinette and Nick's contact information. So don't you worry. We'll connect you with them so you can donate your time or your talent or your treasure. And there is nothing more fun, I think, than going to a Veterans Legal Institute gala and dropping a bunch of money on just fun, crazy stuff. So
I like it too.
I encourage that. I'm a deep supporter. So moving on to Nick, I've been dying to ask you this since I've known you. And I've known you guys. I mean, you're my friends because we have such common goals and interests in life. But what is Vendaval, and what is the meaning behind that name?
Yeah, so good morning, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me here today. Vendaval Corporation was created as a result of many years of fundraising and not being able to raise enough money, and every year getting just a little bit rougher raising money. And what Antoinette said and the efforts that all of you put into her fundraising efforts makes a big difference. So Vendaval, I created Vendaval to be able to build something, earn income, and put it back into the programs that we will collaborate. For example, people and leaders like Antoinette and her organization. But Vendaval makes life simple, living simple. So we develop mixed-use apartments and retail shops, and are able to have income from those developments, and at the same time putting in the right people to live there and to work there, single families, seniors, and veterans, of course.
So
That's-
when you say you're generating income, so you can then push it right back into the
Absolutely.
benefit programs?
So it becomes kind of like self-sufficient. We're able to lower rent, so we keep it affordable.
Nice.
That's the key word over here, is making it reasonably economically
Oh, because it's not expensive to
feasible.
live in SoCal.
Yes, and you know, I think what you were talking about earlier about availability of residents for affordable pricing. Unfortunately, we're behind, way behind.
We are.
We could build thousands and millions of homes and still be behind.
Yeah.
Nationwide. In California, of course, it makes a big difference. In Southern California, we face a big challenge. We have a lot of military bases and a lot of veterans around the military bases that face challenges of getting a job, translating or transitioning their military occupation into a civilian occupation and going on. I mean, most of these veterans, we talk about them and they serve our country, but they are part of the community. I mean,
Of course.
Before they became veterans, they are our community.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave our community, become veterans, and then when they come back to the communities, it could be the same community they left from or a different one, depending on where they get out when they're discharged. But they start all over again. And it's really sometimes after years of training, working with high-tech technology, and you come out and now you're looking for a place to live.
Right.
You need to start looking for where to eat. Your 3 meals a day are not offered to you anymore for
Right.
nothing. You're looking for your health care. You're dealing with the VA. You're looking for benefits. I mean, every single person is tailored differently, and the needs are much different. So Vendaval, and it's a Spanish word for strong winds. Initially, we were going to build the first project in Santa Ana. So that's how we came up with Vendaval.
That's where
the
I
Santa
live. I
Ana
love
winds.
it.
But now we're building, we're hoping for over 400 apartments in Moreno Valley in Riverside County with plenty of retail businesses. We're
That's a
starting
great start.
a lot of programs. We don't just build and give housing, but we work and collaborate with organizations, wonderful organizations like Antoinette's organization, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to bring the professionals so they could do their work using our facilities.
Exactly.
So we're kind of an extension. We allow them to do their work, but at the same time, we would be huge sponsors.
So you're sort of aggregating all these other professionals.
Absolutely. So,
Clever.
there's a tremendous amount of resources and government resources, private resources, and nonprofits that just work. And so we don't want to shy them away or try to start something similar to theirs.
Sure.
We want to bring them in and welcome them.
That is great. So you're
They
just
add
being the
value.
concierge for them.
Absolutely. Because we have the means to build, we have the experience to build, and they have the experience of doing the job. So how wonderful would that be, putting both of them together?
Well, and I think sometimes people oversimplify it. Bringing anyone from military service back into civilian life, it's not just about giving them 3 squares and a roof over their head. I mean, they've lost their team, they've lost their unit, they've lost their understanding of where they fit into the fabric of day-to-day life. So it makes
You have
sense
to-
to me that you're,
You have to give them the opportunity to succeed.
yeah.
And when that opportunity is not given to them, and sometimes you don't need to give them a hand out, you need to give them a hand up. So helping them to guide them into the right thing, not necessarily doing it for them or giving them something for free.
Right.
You just have to help them out. Sometimes a small little hint of what to do or who to see or who to talk to could help tremendously in one way or another. And it could be in different, needs. It could be, like I said before, either in healthcare or rental space or maybe a job, maybe a resume. So it's just sometimes it's really simple, and it's just we need to help them.
Well, and like Antoinette was saying, my mind has been blown over all the veterans benefits that are out there. And I think we civilians naively think, oh, they've got all these benefits. But navigating the VA is a bureaucratic nightmare. And if you don't have an advocate to help you actually get your benefits, you're not going to get them.
Absolutely. You always need somebody like an organization like Antoinette or even the American Legion, Veteran of Foreign Wars. There's a lot of military and veteran organizations out there, in addition to the civilian nonprofits that work and do wonders every single day. So
But when we all pull together, we can make a difference.
yes. And one of the programs, to link it to your real estate, is helping them not only transition into housing, but also home ownership. So although we don't build homes and sell them or give them to the military, we build a lot of rentals. We don't want to call it transition or just, for a short period of time. we want to help them and guide them into maybe getting into home ownership. So
Yes.
they go through the wealth management and their financial training to
Mm-hmm.
help them succeed into finding a job, saving money, buying a home as quickly as they could.
So they can actually start their own legacy for their family.
Absolutely.
Because I think we all know, especially in high cost areas like ours, the sooner you can get into home ownership, the sooner you can start aggregating wealth. And the longer you wait, the farther away that goal's going to get from you.
Yeah.
But having said all that, I know that you're building your 400 unit community. But what is the state of veteran housing in Southern California right now?
Yeah, so we face a huge amount of shortage for housing. Many of the veterans reach out to the VA for VASH HUD vouchers, Section 8, any type of housing assistance. And, again, Antoinette's organization gets them to where they need to go. But there is a
Nick,
huge
that's
waiting
why,
list.
though, you're so important because we can get the vouchers, believe it or not. We're getting HUD VASH, which is similar to Section 8, but for military.
Okay.
What we don't have are landlords that
Yes.
accept it. And so when Nick comes in with this huge vision of Vendaval and he says, I'm going to provide 400 units of veteran housing, it's 400 veterans and their families
Right.
that now have a safe and secure roof over their heads. So
And like Section 8, these vouchers are guaranteed income for the landlords,
Yes.
right?
absolutely.
So I don't know why a landlord wouldn't consider this. And even if you are taking slightly below market rent, it's guaranteed money. You don't have to worry about vacancies. These people are going to be paid for by, good old Uncle Sam. So
Yeah. Let me just make one comment about that. The vouchers and the Section 8 are available, especially for veterans, and we can get them. But sometimes the affordability, it's not
That's
just
the
building
issue.
them, but it's also keeping the rent low.
Right.
So by us doing the construction management and lowering our cost to build, we're able to lower our rents and not having so much of the greedy big corporations that are trying to make as much money as possible, or so we want to set an example out there that we're able to do it for a lot less and charge a lot less.
see, and that's so stinking refreshing. So, okay, we have a lack of housing. Do you guys have any sense of can you give me a number of how many unhoused veterans you think there are in Southern California?
Well, there's a lot of reports that come out all the time, and it depends on who does it. But I could very comfortably say that in Orange County, there's more than 2,000.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's hard to get an active or an accurate count because a lot of people couch surf. So they stay at their battle buddies' houses or with family, but they never really have a home because they couch surf. A lot of people sleep in their cars and they sleep in parking lots. So it's not uncommon. Even student veterans who are going to community college to better themselves, a lot of those student veterans are sleeping in their cars.
That's incredible and tragic. And we can't change it overnight, but we can certainly start. There was something that you had said to me, Nick, on another occasion when you were talking about building these affordable living situations for people. And I know that you have to get really in bed with municipalities about
Yes.
that. So how is it that cities can get involved? What should they be doing?
Yeah, so the cities have to change their mindset on, when it comes to upzoning a property.
What do you mean by upzoning?
So when you change the zone on a property, it allows you to build more, so it's higher density. Now, I understand that sometimes with high-end neighborhoods, the high density comes in and they kind of maybe lowers the value of the homes in that neighborhood.
I disagree with that, but go on.
But if it's done properly, if it's brought in with programs, with activities, and bringing in the community to help, then you could really uplift the value of those homes. So a project like ours has so much to give back to the community. Even those homes that live there are able to use the facilities and to better their lives. Not just into the day-to-day, or even, in those communities have veterans in there. So the veterans in those communities, you always find a veteran somewhere,
Of course,
right?
yes.
And they could probably be living well and have jobs and stuff like that, but there might be an item that they need, and so they can come into our facility and use it. So we're bringing something, we're adding value to the neighborhood. We're not diminishing it or turning it into a disastrous area.
Well, it would make sense to me if you've got a community center where people can go and figure out how to get the benefits that they need, how to get the housing that they need, how to get the skills to re-enter the workforce that they need. They're going to be more of a positive component of society. So for people to be frightened of that is really unfortunate, because what you're doing is making their community better. You're lifting everyone together. So, and it's interesting when I talk to people about, all right, so, Senate Bills 9 and 10 came out, and the wealthy came out with pitchforks and said, not in my backyard. I don't want my single family lot to have 2 or 3 or, God forbid, even 4 living units on it, and the parking and. Well, do you want to be like Santa Monica and have porta potties on the corner? Do you want to have human feces in your front yard? Because if we don't do something about it, that's where we're going, and we're going there fast. And I can speak from direct experience. You guys have both been to my home. I have a single family home in Santa Ana, and I do have an ADU in the backyard, and I have family members living there. So I am contributing because my family members are not out there on the open market gobbling up an entry-level rental that could have gone to a veteran. So even if people are saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to have a rental in my backyard, start looking at your own family. Can you put family members back there? And if you can, talk about doing that, because that's going to open up a housing unit for somebody else who really needs it. So there are some sort of tangential ways we can actually participate in being part of the solution. So, and that's my own little soapbox thing, but how else can we as individuals help with housing veterans, both of you? Ideas?
I think it's really important in your support of veteran housing, if that's not your area of expertise, to really seek out organizations that are led by veterans like Vendaval, or at least run by people that have a familiarity and a history and an understanding of military cultural competency. Because at the end of the day, when you serve a veteran, the issues are unique to their civilian counterparts. So someone like Nick, while he is in the 90% of successful veterans that understand leadership that came back stronger, and he understands his brothers and sisters that are in that bottom 10%. He understands their issues. He understands what they've been through. So he is, strongly already in a foundation where he knows how to best serve them. He doesn't have to recreate the wheel. He understands them. He's been in that mindset. So, when seeking that out, look at who's running the program and their history and their expertise. Look at if the program is wholly military specific, as opposed to a civilian nonprofit that may just start a veteran serving unit because the funding was there. And look at how you can, uniquely use your talents. If you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer, if you're some sort of other professional that can provide an actual service, that can be helpful.
It's limitless. I mean, even people who are stylists, civilians and military personnel are different. So if somebody's re-entering the workplace, they may need someone to help them understand how to dress, and what sort of bag to carry. And for gentlemen, what type of haircut is going to get you through the door and through the interview. The ways we can give back are myriad.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because one of the veterans I know, his name is Ralph Encinas, and he happens to have a barber shop in Santa Ana. But I know for a fact that he has cut dozens of veterans' hair free of charge, because he wants them to be able to have a great appearance for when they apply for that job. So, there are people that are giving back in their own way, and that's super meaningful, because, maybe but for that clean trim, that person may not have been able to get the job, or may have been too intimidated to even show up to the interview. So he gives them their confidence in that way. So there are so many ways, and you in your capacity in real estate have, mentored a lot of people into homeownership. I know one of your producers, Cara Rafael, has helped Veterans Legal Institute with PR and marketing. Nick is a huge supporter with Vendaval of Veterans Legal Institute, even though he's putting in his full time into his own service of veterans. So, everybody can contribute.
And that is why we're here today. I'm so excited that we're at least getting the word out there for people so they understand, that they can contribute and how they can contribute. And again, on the podcast, you'll have all kinds of contact information so you know how to reach these glorious people. You've given us so much to consider, so much to follow up on. I'm going to have you back again and again. And I do have a few more questions for you, a little bit off topic, a little bit more fun. But for the moment, Paul, would you please tell us a bit about this week's sponsor?
Happy to, because one of the things that's clear from today's show and others is you've surrounded yourself with some great people, including our sponsor today, Ford and DiIulio. Ford and DiIulio is an Orange County-based boutique litigation firm with experienced attorneys from big law firms. The partners founded Ford and DiIulio on the concept of aligned interests. That means where their success is tied to your success, and where they're rewarded for being efficient and effective, and where they engage in the relentless pursuit of their clients' goals, whether in litigation, in mediation, or at trial. If that's something you've been missing with your law firm, why not check out one of the best, Ford DiIulio. It's FordDiIulio.com, spelled FordDiulio. Ford DiIulio. And with that, we bring it back to Wendy and her guest. And do I get to ask a question here?
Absolutely, Paul.
Antoinette's been on several of our shows, as has Nick, and I'm always struck by the statistics they bring with us. I'm wondering if the recent drawdown in Afghanistan and elsewhere is going to increase the amount of homeless vets coming back, wondering what to do. Are we looking for a surge in this?
That's such a great point to bring up. You know, the withdrawal of United States from Afghanistan has had a huge negative impact on those that served and those families that suffered over there. So we've had an increase in mental health issues, a lot of people questioning their sacrifice, whether they lost a limb or a family member,
Wow.
because they were so deeply vested in the success and victory of the Afghan people, and especially the women and the children. So we have noticed a negative impact of that decision on our veterans and their families. Nick, have you witnessed the same?
Yes, some of the units that we're serving in Afghanistan, when they come back from the deployment, they're kind of spread out through our nation. Some of them are from different communities. If they remain in the military, sometimes housing is available, or variable housing allowances are available. So that's how they kind of deal with it. But in addition to just the housing part of it, some of the issues, some of the items that might be missing from their life, re-engaging with family is difficult. Sometimes friends.
Well, and COVID just made that harder, didn't it?
Yes, and then the disconnect of the camaraderie between the soldiers, could make a big difference. Coming back after a period of time, things have changed. Either friendship locally in their communities have changed. So the shift of their lifestyle changes so much that you end up with issues that you have to deal with. And it's I would say yes, I agree with everything that Antoinette said, and sometimes it's the way we've done it. Maybe it's not the proper way, and the drawdown so quickly, it could actually affect most of that. It could implode it. I mean, it could be a large issue.
It's all the more reason for everyone to give. Really, I mean, I know I sound like a fundraiser, but for heaven's sake, I mean, literally these people were in war zones for years and years and years. And to your point, they were there because they wanted to protect the women and the children as well as the men. And they come back and they have nowhere to live, and they're frustrated by decisions that they had no control over. And now we're treating them like second-class citizens because they don't know how to fill out a resume. I mean, it's just unconscionable. And it's funny because Antoinette and I are totally like-minded. As Paul was reminding us that Ford and DiIulio is my sponsor, I know Ford and DiIulio actually contributes quite a lot to your legal services, don't they?
They're incredible. Chris DiIulio himself, I served with in the California State Guard, and
That's right.
I believe I believe he's a captain. And Brendan Ford and I, along with UCI Law, recently filed a complaint to protect a widow of a veteran that's in her 80s. And, the credit to staff attorney Doug Tennant, who's been practicing for over 30 years. And
Wow.
he works at Veterans Legal
He
Institute.
doesn't look that old.
It's the philanthropy that keeps him young.
There you go, people.
He works at Veterans Legal Institute. He's dedicated his retirement to working full time with us. And he met this widow, and her house was about to be foreclosed upon because through a loophole in an egregious system, people came and took advantage of her, selling her on something, windows and doors, at 4 times the price and telling her it's a government program, and then eventually quadrupling her mortgage payment of a house she's lived in for over 50 years.
Of course.
Trying to foreclose upon her. So, Doug was able to work with some people in the finance industry, save her home. And when we shared the story with Ford and D'Elio, they said, we want to take this pro bono.
That's
And
fantastic.
So coupled with UCI Law and some other strategic partners, we've been able to file suit. And our ultimate hope is to prevent future veterans and their widows or widowers from falling victim to these scams. And we've also had some legislators find out about it, and they've been doing town halls to warn their constituency about these scams. So Ford and D'Elio is definitely an incredible firm. And I believe that the type of leadership that we see that people develop in the military really is a powerful skill and tool to have in your belt. So it's been an incredible experience with them and working with them and watching how generous they are with their time and expertise.
Wow. What a story. I mean, you know that I'm a Marine widow, and it just hurt to hear you say that. Like, I can't imagine if I was facing foreclosure on my home. It's devastating. And to put an 80-year-old woman in this position is unconscionable.
Yeah,
So-
and she lives on a fixed income. She's not a
Of course she
wealthy person. So, but you know what? Cases like that take hundreds of hours worth of resources. So it's not something a legal aid like Veterans Legal Institute can do on its own. So we really rely on private attorneys to donate their time pro bono to help us with these types of cases so that we don't have to turn her away, so that she doesn't lose her home and become homeless after 80 years of living.
And so here's yet one more way that we can all help give back, because Ford and Giulio is a brilliant law firm. They are my law firm. They do business law, they do contract law, they do litigation, they do mediation, and if more people hire them and have them give them expert counsel, that will give them the opportunity to do more pro bono work. So again, it's a tangential way that everyone can help give back to the veterans. So having said all of that, I want to get a little bit off topic, and I have a few more questions that I love to ask, because we've talked about what you do professionally, and I know you and love you as individuals, so I want the listeners to get to know just a little bit more about you too. So every week I ask everyone questions, kind of like, the Vanity Fair or the Proust questionnaire, and I'm going to start. Actually, you just fight over it. Whoever wants to answer first is fine. So,
All right, Nick, let's arm wrestle.
All right.
Okay.
I won't mess with this guy.
so what city do each of you call home?
Huntington Beach
Yeah,
for myself.
we're neighbors, actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Same city.
So what do you like about living there?
Oh, gosh.
That Nick is my neighbor.
Yes.
I would love that too.
Yeah. Well, we have quite an amount of local businesses that we frequent, and the beach, and everybody's friendly. It's Surf City, USA.
It's hard to be grumpy at the beach, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, then, since this is a show about real estate, tell me what compelled you to move to Huntington Beach. Was it just the beach, or was it something else?
Well, for me, it was the weather. I'm originally from the East Coast, from Brooklyn, and I didn't really like living in a place where it was too warm. So living closer to the beach, it's a little bit more breezy for me, so it's more comfortable. At the same time, I enjoy the sunshine.
So year-round in the 70s, it was compelling.
Yes.
What about you, Antoinette? What brought you to the beach?
It wasn't as good as I'm from the East Coast too, Nick.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate the 70-degree year round. Although I consider myself a child, an international child, and as soon as COVID goes away, if anyone wants to jump on a plane and take me anywhere, I'm there.
I was waiting for the whole Lebanese connection.
I know.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that is right.
Absolutely.
Both Nick and I are born in the United States, but have Lebanese parents.
Absolutely, yeah. My grandfather, World War I, U.S. Army veteran.
Wow.
Uncles in World War II in Korea. So we, being Lebanese, we contribute so much to the communities here too. So.
So you're both of Lebanese descent. What generation American are you?
From my father's side, second, mother's side, third.
Yeah, I'm first generation.
Yeah, see, and I'm second generation for half of my family too. And people look at me and they're like, "Oh, she's corn-fed from the Midwest, been here forever." But no, I come from a family of immigrants as well. We came from Finland.
You know, I noticed that a lot of the sons and daughters of immigrants are super patriotic Americans because when you understand kind of where you came from and where you are, and especially us living in paradise and having the freedom to be whoever we want, and more importantly, the opportunity in the
Yes.
United States, you just live a life of incredible gratitude.
We have so much abundance. And well, you know Mick's story. My late husband, Mick, he was a military brat. His father served in the U.S. Army and the Air Corps, and he was a photographer. And so he was deployed over and over again, Korea and Vietnam. So Mick was raised with his sister in Australia. And he came back to the U.S. when he was 17 years old because he wanted to be in the U.S. military just like Dad. So you're absolutely spot on. The immigrants are all about patriotism and serving and giving back. So this is my favorite question and often the most difficult. What is your most treasured possession?
Well, I possess my children, so
There you go.
I believe, at least until they're 18, we're getting there, but
Oh, and those boys.
for now, yeah, those sons of mine, they are nothing else, comes close to my family.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Family comes 1st. You know, we love them to death, and kept my daughter close. She's first year college, and kind of convinced her to stay home. So I'm kind of
Nice.
fortunate in that. So yeah, she is, and her brother, both of them, I love them.
You know,
That's
and
so
my
good.
friendship with Nick and his wife Neda is also
Yes.
very near and dear to my heart. By the Nick, I didn't want you to think that I forgot about you. By the way, I'm coming over for dinner tonight. Hop over next door.
There's a lot of love in this room.
Stop by.
Oh my goodness. So this may be the same answer, but what do each of you consider your greatest achievement to date? And you've got so many.
Yeah, I don't think personal achievements, are ranked up there in my point of view. I like to say that if I could achieve what I'm trying to do now, that would be a great achievement, is giving back to the community, my veteran brothers and sisters, making sure that we leave a legacy. I think being kind is the most important thing to each other.
It makes a massive difference.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah, I think what Nick said is spot on, and just really continuing to progress in what's important to us, and being cognizant of our goals and how we want to give back to our community. I mean, the network of love that I have, I think whether it's like my family, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, my team at Veterans Legal Institute, I'm so proud of it because ultimately I feel loved and I give love, and I think you can get all the accolades in the world, but if you're not surrounding yourself by people who love you and loving people back, life just isn't as enjoyable. So I'm very proud of my network and the people close to me.
That is such an important message. And this morning when I was driving in here, I was thinking about each of you and about how you're almost never not smiling. And Antoinette, I mean, you've got a smile that should be like trademarked. Always smiling. And you're always smiling and you're always joyful and you're always leading with love while you're solving homelessness issues, while you're helping someone who's traumatized by PTSD or other things get care. You choose to surround yourself with the difficult stuff in life for these veterans, and you smile all the way through it. And I just cannot applaud you enough.
Well,
I
it
just can't.
beats the alternative,
Yes,
right? I look way
absolutely.
cuter with a smile. on my
You
face.
do.
No one wants to be angry.
You
Come on
do.
now.
And I think my favorite Antoinette is the Antoinette wearing something sparkly holding a glass of champagne.
Oh, that's me.
There you
That's
go.
hey, it's 6 p.m. somewhere, Wendy. So
Let's get out of here. All right. So let's close with this. Do you have a personal motto? And if so, what is it?
Living made simple.
Nice.
I think that would be.
I think I just like to live along the premise of having an attitude of gratitude. Like you said, Wendy, it's a choice.
Yeah.
No one has a monopoly on suffering. So you get to choose when you wake up if you want to be smiling and happy, or if you want to just sulk in misery or complaining or be depressed. And so I mean, albeit there are some mental health issues that could supersede that, but I do try to, no matter what's going on, whether it's personally or professionally, maintain that smile, pass it along, and be grateful for all the blessings of my life.
You are such a gift. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Paul's going to tell us about next week.
I am. You caught me by guard. I'm just listening to these stories, and I'm caught up in this whole thing here. Well, let's join us next week when attorney Kevin McDonough. I got to get the Scottish in there. McDonough joins us on This Week with Wendy, and be sure to follow Veracity Real Estate on Instagram and LinkedIn, or find us anywhere your favorite podcasts are found. That's going to wrap it up for This Week with Wendy. Join us again here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, as we stream live from the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.